Little Johnny watched, fascinated, as his mother smoothed cold cream on her face. "Why do you do that, Mommy?" he asked. "To make myself beautiful," said his mother, who then began removing the cream with a tissue. "What's the matter?" asked little Johnny. "Giving up?" Twin sisters in a Newfoundland nursing home were turning 100 years old. The editor of the local newspaper told a photographer to get over there and take pictures of the 100-year-old twins. One of the twins was hard of hearing and the other could hear quite well. Once the photographer arrived, he asked the sisters to sit on the sofa. The deaf sister said to her twin, "What did he say?" "We gotta sit over there on the sofa," said the other. "Now get a little closer together," said the cameraman. Again, "What did he say?" "He says squeeze together a little." So they wiggled up close to each other. "Just hold on for a bit longer. I've got to focus the camera," said the photographer. Yet again, "What did he say?" "He says he's gonna focus." With a big grin, the deaf twin shouted out, "Oh, both of us! Can I be first?" A woman with freshly dyed brunette hair rushes into the doctor's office. "Doc, every part of my body hurts when I touch it." Skeptical, the doctor says, "Show me." She pokes her elbow. "Ah," touches her knee. "Ow!" presses her ankle. "Mother of pearl." The doctor looks at her and asks, "Be honest, you're not really a brunette, are you?" She sighs. "Fine. I'm actually a blonde. I dyed it last week." The doctor nods. "Thought so? Your finger's broken?" During a sermon, the preacher said, "If you know your wife is controlling you, move to the left." Almost every man in the congregation moved to the left, except for one. The preacher, impressed by the one man who stayed still, asked, "How come your wife can't control you?" The man smiled and replied, "My wife told me not to move." Two women were bragging about their dog's intelligence. First woman. "My dog is a genius. Every morning he fetches the newspaper before I even ask." Second woman. "I know." First woman. "Wait, how do you know?" Second woman. "He texted me." Joe grew up in a town so small the welcome sign just said, "Hi." After law school, he moved back home to become the town's big-shot lawyer. He opened an office, hung up his diplomas, bought fancy leather chairs, and waited. And waited. 0 clients. One day, a man finally walked in. Joe panicked. In the best way. Grabbing his dead phone, he launched into the most dramatic fake phone call of all time. "No, I will not settle for less than $1 million. Yes, I'm lead counsel. The DA, tell him I'll squeeze him in between saving justice and lunch." After 5 minutes of pure Hollywood lawyering, Joe hung up, smirked, and said, "Sorry for the wait. What can I do for you?" The man replied, "Relax. I'm from the phone company. I'm just here to hook up your line." At a party, a doctor and a lawyer are chatting. Every few minutes, someone interrupts the doctor. "Hey, can you look at this rash? My back's been killing me. Does this mole look weird?" After an hour of free checkups, the doctor sighs. "Man, how do you handle people asking for free advice?" The lawyer grins. "Simple. I give them advice, then mail them a bill." The doctor laughs, but the next day he decides to try it himself, writing bills for every party parasite. When he gets to the mailbox, there's already an envelope waiting for him. It's a bill from the lawyer. Frank had been on the road longer than most folks had been paying taxes. He wasn't flashy, just a stubborn man with a worn leather jacket, a louder-than-necessary Harley, and a face that said, "Don't ask me about my cholesterol." That morning, he rolled into a dusty roadside bar for a cup of something black enough to match his mood. It was quiet, just the way he liked it. No small talk, no gluten-free menus, just squeaky stools and burnt coffee. As he settled in, a woman slid onto the bar stool next to him. She gave him a once-over, then asked, "So, are you a real biker?" Frank smirked. "Been riding since I was tall enough to kickstart the thing. My mama was pregnant with me on the back of my dad's Harley. Grew up with oil under my nails and windburn on my face. Built my first bike from scraps and stubbornness, so yeah, I'd say I'm a real biker." She nodded, took a sip of her drink. "I'm a lesbian," she said casually. "I think about women constantly. When I wake up, when I shower, when I drive, eat, watch TV, everything makes me think of women." Frank blinked, slowly turned back to his coffee. They sat there in silence for a while, the jukebox humming some forgotten country tune in the background. Eventually, a young guy walked in and sat down on Frank's other side. "Hey, man," the guy said, "are you a real biker?" Frank took a long sip, set his mug down, and sighed. "Well, I thought I was. But now I'm pretty sure I'm a lesbian." Woman. "I think I've been bitten on my bum," bending over and pulling up her skirt. "Can you see it?" "Oh my," Doc said. "It's absolutely massive." "Is it?" she replied. "Yes," he said. "It's going to take a while to check." 3 guys get into a car crash, and the next thing they know, they're standing at the pearly gates, face to face with Jesus, looking more majestic than a shampoo commercial. Jesus says, "1 question each, tell the truth, and you're in. Be honest, that's all I ask." First guy, "Never cheated on my wife, Lord, loyal as a Labrador." Jesus, "Impressive. You get a mega mansion and a stretch limo. Welcome to heaven." Second guy, "Well, twice." Jesus, "Not perfect, but you told the truth. You get a nice 4-bedroom house and a BMW." Third guy, 8 times, maybe 9. Lost count after Vegas." Jesus, "Ouch. Still, honesty works. You get a studio apartment and a Yugo that needs a push start." A couple hours later, the second and third guys find Mr. Mansion sitting on a cloud, crying his eyes out. They ask, "Bro, why are you upset? You've got it all." Through the tears, he says, "I just saw my wife rolling by on a skateboard." A blind guy is sitting at the bar and says, "Hey, bartender, want to hear a blonde joke?" The guy next to him leans over and warns, "Careful, pal. The bartender's blonde. The bouncer's blonde. I'm blonde, 6 foot, 200 pounds, and I teach karate. The guy next to me, 6'2", 225, rugby player. And the guy on your right, 6'5", built like a fridge and wrestles bears for fun. We're all blonde. You still want to tell that joke?" The blind guy thinks for a second and says, "Nah, not if I'll have to explain it 5 times." A young blonde, short on cash but full of confidence, decided to start her own handywoman service. She went door to door in a fancy neighborhood. At the first mansion, a man answered. "Got any odd jobs I can do for you?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Well, my porch could use a coat of paint. How much?" $50, she smiled. "Deal. Paint and ladders are in the garage." Less than an hour later, she was back. "You're finished already?" he asked, shocked. "Yep, and I even gave it 2 coats, she beamed. The man reached for his wallet, impressed, but before he could hand her the cash, she added, "Oh, and by the way, that wasn't a porch. It was your Ferrari." A man walks into a drugstore with his 8-year-old son. As they pass the condom display, the boy stops, points, and asks, "Dad, what are those?" Dad, cool as ever, replies, "Those are condoms, son. Grown-ups use them for safe love." The boy nods. "Oh, like we learned in health class." He grabs a 3-pack. "Why are there only 3? Dad smiles. "That's for high schoolers. 1 for Friday, 1 for Saturday, and 1 for Sunday." "Got it," says the boy, impressed. Then he picks up a six-pack. And this one. That's for college, guys. 2 for Friday, 2 for Saturday, and 2 for Sunday. The boy's eyes nearly pop out. Whoa! Finally, he holds up a 12-pack. And who on earth needs this many? Dad sighs deeply. Married men, 1 for January, 1 for February, 1 for March. I was at the checkout at Walmart, minding my own business, when the cashier rang up my total, $46.64. I handed her a crisp $50 bill. She looked me dead in the eye, gave me back $46.64, and continued scanning items like a professional. Me. I think there's a mistake? Her huffing dramatically. Sir, I'm educated. I know what I'm doing. She pushed the money back at me like I was trying to scam her. So, I did what any reasonable person would do. I gave it back. She, once again, pushed it right back at me with extra attitude. I shrugged, picked up my bags, and walked out with $46.64 in my pocket. They walk among us. I walked into Starbucks with a buy one, get one free coupon for a grande latte. The barista studied it like it was the Declaration of Independence, then turned to a chalkboard that read, buy one, get one free. Her eyes lit up. Oh, so that means they're both free. She happily handed me 2 free lattes. I didn't argue. I just walked out, sipping my victory. They walk among us. One day, I was strolling along the beach with some friends when one of them gasped dramatically, pointed ahead, and yelled, "Look! A dead bird!" Another friend immediately looked up at the sky and asked, "Where?" I had no words. They walk among us. My brother was house hunting and asked the real estate agent which direction was north. He explained that he didn't want the sun waking him up every morning. The agent furrowed her brow. Wait, does the sun rise in the north? My brother, thinking she was joking, laughed. She was not joking. He gently explained that the sun rises in the east, and has been doing that for quite a while now. She shook her head and said, "Oh, I don't keep up with all that stuff." I subbed. I had to walk away. A prose walk among us. Back when I worked in a 24/7 call center, a guy called and asked, "What hours are you open?" Me. "Sir, we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week." Him. "Okay, but is that Eastern or Pacific time?" I stared at my screen for a solid 10 seconds before replying, Pacific. He thanked me and hung up, probably feeling proud of himself. They walk among us. My sister has one of those emergency seatbelt cutters in her car, designed to save her life if she ever gets trapped. She keeps it in the trunk. They walk among us. My friends and I went to buy beer for a party. The store had a 10% discount on cases. Since we were professionals, we grabbed 2 cases. The cashier did some quick mental math. "Oh, 2 cases. That's 10% plus 10%. So you get 20% off." We all nodded and quietly accepted our new financial advisor. They walk among us. At the airport, I couldn't find my luggage, so I went to the lost baggage counter. Me. "My bags never showed up." The lady smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, sir. I'm a trained professional. Now, has your plane landed yet?" I blinked. Me. "Nope. We're still circling the airport. The pilot told us we're 3rd in line to land." Her. "Oh, okay. Well, come back after you land." Sure thing, genius. They walk among us. While working at a pizza place, I watched a man order a small pizza to go. "Cook, would you like that cut into 4 or 6 slices?" The man thought long and hard before replying, "Better make it 4. I don't think I'm hungry enough to eat 6. Bless their hearts, they walk among us. A little old lady went to the grocery store to buy cat food. She picked up 4 cans and headed to the checkout counter. The cashier looked at her and said, "I'm sorry, but we can't sell you cat food without proof that you actually have a cat. Management says some elderly people buy it to eat, so we need to make sure it's for your pet." Frustrated, the little old lady went home, grabbed her cat, and brought it back to the store. Satisfied, the cashier sold her the cat food. The next day, she returned to buy 2 cans of dog food. Again, the cashier stopped her. "I'm sorry, but we can't sell you dog food without proof that you have a dog. Management has the same concerns about dog food." Annoyed, but determined, the little old lady went home, brought her dog back to the store, and was finally allowed to buy the dog food. On the 3rd day, she came back carrying a small box with a hole in the lid. She approached the same cashier and said, "Stick your finger in this hole." The cashier hesitated. "No way. What if there's a snake or something dangerous in there?" The little old lady reassured her. "I promise, there's nothing in this box that can hurt you." Reluctantly, the cashier stuck her finger into the hole, then quickly pulled it back out, wrinkling her nose. "That smells like crap," she exclaimed. The little old lady smiled. "It is. Now, I'd like to buy 3 rolls of toilet paper." A wife and her husband were throwing a dinner party for some very important guests. Politicians, business leaders, the crème de la crème of French society. Everything had to be perfect. Just an hour before the guests were to arrive, the wife suddenly gasped, "We're short on snails for the escargot!" Panicking, she turned to her husband and said, "Run down to the beach and collect some. Quickly!" Very reluctantly, he grabbed a bucket and trudged down to the shore. As he was scooping up snails, he noticed a stunning woman walking nearby. He glanced over, thinking, "Wouldn't it be amazing if she came over and talked to me?" A few minutes later, she did. They chatted. One thing led to another. She invited him back to her place. Hours passed. Things got hot and heavy. He ended up falling asleep. The next morning, at 7 a.m., he jolted awake. "Oh, no! The dinner party!" He leapt up, threw on his clothes, grabbed his bucket of snails, and sprinted home. As he reached the front steps of his building, completely breathless, he tripped and spilled the entire bucket. Snails went flying everywhere. At that exact moment, the front door flew open. His wife stood there, arms crossed, furious. He looked down at the snails, then looked up at her, then back at the snails, and said, "Come on, lads. We're nearly there." A couple in their 90s are both having problems remembering things. During a checkup, the doctor tells them that they're physically okay, but they might want to start writing things down to help them with their faulty memories. Later that night, while watching TV, the old man gets up from his chair. "Want anything while I'm in the kitchen?" he asks. "Will you get me a bowl of ice cream?" she answers. "Sure," he says, and heads for the kitchen. "Don't you think you should write it down?" she asks, sweetly. "No need," he responds. "I can remember that." "Well, I'd like some strawberries on top, too. Maybe you should write all that down so you don't forget it." He says, "I can remember that. You want a bowl of ice cream with strawberries." "I'd also like some whipped cream," she continues. "And I'm certain you'll forget that, so will you please write it down?" And from the kitchen he shouts, "I don't need to write it down. I can remember it for God's sake. Ice cream with strawberries and whipped cream, I got it." After about 20 minutes, the old man shuffles back and hands his wife a plate of bacon and eggs. She stares at the plate for a moment and says, "So, where's the toast?" The old lady handed her bank card to a bank teller and said, "I would like to withdraw $500. The teller told her, "For withdrawals less than $5,000, please use the ATM. The old lady then asked, "Why?" The teller irritably told her, "These are rules. Please leave if there is no other matter. There is a queue behind you." She then returned the card to the old lady. The old lady remained silent. But then she returned the card to the teller and said, "Please help me withdraw all the money I have." The teller was astonished when she checked the account balance. She nodded her head, leaned down, and said to the old lady, "My apologies, Granny. You have $3.5 million in your account, and our bank does not have so much cash currently. Could you make an appointment and come again tomorrow?" The old lady then asked, "How much am I able to withdraw now?" The teller told her, "Any amount up to $300,000. The old lady then told the teller that she wanted to withdraw $300,000 from her account. The teller did so quickly and handed it to the old lady respectfully. The old lady kept $500 in her bag and asked the teller to deposit the balance of $299,500 back into her account. Patty and Mick are at a job interview for a laborer by a builder. Patty goes first and is asked, "If you lost an eye, what would you be?" He answers, "Half blind." Then he was asked, "What would you be if you lost both eyes?" He answers, "Blind." Builder says, "Great, you got the job. Send Mick in." Mick overheard the interview and thinks, "Great, I'll just give the same answers." The builder asks, "If you lost an ear, what would you be?" Mick says, "Half blind." Then was asked, "What about if you lost both ears?" Mick says, "Blind." The builder, a bit puzzled, asked, "How would that be?" Mick says, "My hat would fall down." The English teacher cleared her throat and asked, "What word starts with F and ends in K that means a lot of heat and excitement?" The principal, who had been casually listening from the back, suddenly sat up straight, his face turning pale. His eyes darted nervously toward Johnny, silently pleading for him to stay out of trouble. Johnny, without missing a beat, confidently answered, "Fire truck."